Today is October 5th, 2023. I'm Adrienne Falaise, and it is my honor to be interviewing Fatima Robinson for the Interviews on Oral History of Television, and we are in Ojai, California. Great. Thank you so much for sitting down with us today, Fatima.
No problem.
So to start, we'd just like to get a little bit of background information.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about your childhood, where you were born, where you grew up.
I was born in Little Rock, Arkansas, but I grew up here in Los Angeles. We moved here when I was 5 years old. I have two younger sisters. And we moved to sunny California. My mom wanted to get out of the South and chose LA.
Why did you choose LA?
She had, when she was at Tennessee State, she was a majorette, and she had come here for a game and just fell in love with the palm trees and the weather, and just thought it was so beautiful here that when she graduated, she just wanted to make her way back.
And what did she do for a living?
My mom did hair, so she's a cosmetologist. And we kind of lived all over LA. But one of the things that we did, that I did with my younger sisters, was I was always making up routines and dancing with them in the house. So I was always I was a choreographer before I even knew what the word was.
And what kind of dancing were you doing?
I would just make up routines, stuff I would see on Soul Train or on Solid Gold. And we'd put towels on our head and act like we were Darcel from Solid Gold. And it was just things we would do whenever my mom would have guests over. We were the entertainment. Did
you take any dance lessons?
No, I didn't really take dance lessons. My sisters was in piano and did a little bit of dance. My mom was working, so I was kind of always taking care of them and taking them around.
And so you said you watched Soul Train. What were some of the other TV shows that you liked at the time?
Soul Train, Solid Gold. Of course, when MTV came out and music videos started, that was like so amazing to me. There were a couple of also New York-based video music box, stuff that had hip-hop, that played hip-hop before it went mainstream. And so those are the things that I would watch, and that was my class. I would sit at home and record these shows and watch them and dance along with them. Yeah.
Who were some of the artists that you were drawn to at that time?
Really hip hop artists. I'm a child of hip hop. I grew up with such an amazing genre of music, and to have been part of the very beginning of it and watch it develop and grow, and all of that has been so incredible. But for me, it was, we would share mixtapes with each other at school, and it was hip hop music for me. But in the house, my mom listened to a lot of Sade or Stevie Wonder, a lot of reggae, Bob Marley. So there was always music playing in our home.
And would you go out dancing as well, like outside of the routines you were doing in your home?
No, I was young then. I mean, I would, in junior high and high school, I would enter dance contests and stuff, but never going out. It was really just about when you're Black in America and you go to companies, you go to friends' house or you have company at your house, that's just kind of naturally what you do. It becomes a party and everyone dances and the kids perform for the adults, and it's just kind of how we live our life.
With this interest in dance when you were younger, were you thinking about it as a career, or did you know what you wanted to be?
I didn't think of dance as a career at all. It was just something that I loved to do. It was more like a hobby. And at that age, I really didn't know what I wanted to do. I became the shampoo girl at my mom's salon when I was 14 years old. So that was something that took me on the road of doing hair. But even then, I was like, if I'm going to do this, I want to do it I wanted to go to the Vidal Sassoon Academy in London, like that kind of thing. I always dreamed big.
So how did you first start to get actually involved with music videos in that kind of scene in LA?
Yeah, I started going to these 18 and over hip hop clubs that they'd have. And in the clubs, they didn't have alcohol or anything. And it was just like a lot of young, wonderful energy coming together. And people would see me dancing in the club, but also they had dance contests that were really popular. And so met a few other dancer girls back then. We formed a group called Feminine Touch, and we entered a dance contest. And from that dance contest, John Singleton saw us. He was just graduating from film school at USC and was like, I'm going to put you in my movie. And we were extras in Boys in the Hood. But people would come to these clubs when they were looking for dancers, or if record label people would come to the clubs looking for talent. It was just the clubs were really where where hip hop was really being created. So you had to kind of be in the clubs to enjoy it, to be around it, to discover it. Yeah.
And what was the feeling that you got from being in the clubs? What was it that you enjoyed about hip hop?
Yeah, the one thing I would describe it to people is, and definitely to my mother, who was quite religious and didn't want me dancing, is like, for me, dancing, it felt like where I was closest to God. So it was my church, the clubs. And ultimately, as I grew up, I realized clubs were my classroom. And that's where I was doing all my dance lessons all night, you know. It was a very untraditional way to enter into a dance career. But for me, it really worked and cultivated kind of my style.
What would you say your style is?
Hip hop. Yeah, I like to say that because, you know, there were so many people that didn't look at hip hop as a true art form of dance. And so they thought it was a passing fad and something that, you know, would go away. And really it's something that was born in the clubs and with this music as it gained popularity, so that the dance, but also just the way in which we listen to music and respond to music. And, you know, it really is, that is the base of everything for me is hip hop. Now I've blended other styles of dance with my style, but I am a hip hop choreographer.
So this was like the late 1980s, is that the time period?
Yeah, I graduated high school at 16 at 88. So I started going to the clubs at around 17.
And who were some of the artists that were big at that time?
Big Daddy Kane, Heavy D, Salt and Pepper, LL Cool J, you know, all the rappers then, and they all had dancers with them. And the great part about the clubs is that was really a lot of times the only place for these people to perform at. And so you would get, you know, the New York rappers coming in and performing at the club, and then they'd bring their dancers with them, and then we'd all battle on the stage, on the dance floor. And then that's where we learned new moves, and that's when we exchange kind of what was the latest craze. And you had to be in the club in order to learn it and know it and see it.
Talk a little bit about battling. Did that just happen naturally?
Yeah, battling just is part of hip hop culture, whether it's dance or MCing or DJing. We all battled as kids. We were just, you know, we took all that teenage angst and bravado, and we put it in our craft, you know. And it was such a great time to grow up. My son now often says, I grew up, Mom, I'm growing up in the wrong era. Like, he really, really can appreciate the energy that we all had. You know, we didn't see it as careers. We didn't see it as, like, we couldn't understand the future that it would take on, but we just knew we were on to something and doing something that we loved. And so we just kept on, like, figuring it out.
So when John Singleton called you to come be on Boys in the Hood, was that your first time on a set? Had you been on any music video sets prior to that?
Oh, I had, yeah. Only a couple, but people would ask me, would see us in the clubs. Like, there was a Motown artist, Rich Nice, that they were looking for some people to do a music video for, and me and my dance partner at the time, we got up there and battled some more girls, but then we did a little leg lock kind of combination that showed that we were a team and together, and so we got chosen for that. So things like that would happen at the clubs, yeah.
So when you were in the music video then, would there be choreographer who taught you what to do for the video, or were you making up your own steps?
Yeah, at that time we always made up our own steps, yeah. When you got with the hip hop artists, that's what you naturally did. It was, part of being a dancer for them.
And was it around that time that you met Lionel Martin and Hype Williams as well?
Yeah, I met Lionel first. I had an audition with Lionel. I showed up a little late. When I got there, one girl had talked herself into being the choreographer, and the casting director had this cassette player that played the cassettes a little too fast. And so when he finally asked us to just get up and dance, after explaining the concept to us, one girl kind of complained about the carpet in the room, and another girl complained about like the music being too fast. And then I just got up and like bust and did whatever, I knew how to do. And he stops the music and he points at me and says, okay, she's going to be the choreographer and you two are going to be the dancers, because she adapted to the situation the best. And I was like, okay. I mean, I had been doing it all along, so it wasn't like something too new for me, but it was definitely a wake up for me to actually start to look at choreography serious. Yeah.
Did you embrace that right away? Of like, I think I want to move into this area?
I kind of casually embraced it. Like, Rosie Perez called me and was like, you have to call yourself a choreographer and you have to charge for that service. And it was something really surprising to me because we just had been doing it all the time. And so I think just along the way, I, when people would ask, do you dance? Yes, I'm a choreographer. I started to like speak it, I had to first look up the word because I didn't know how to spell it. But yeah, I just slowly kind of just transitioned myself into it.
And then was it John Singleton that brought you on for Remember the Time?
Yeah, a few years later after the movie, and the movie was a hit, and he cold calls me and is looking for a choreographer for a music video, and he's telling me about the treatment and everybody that's going to be in it. And I'm like, wow, this sounds great. Yes, I would love to do it. And then before we got off the phone, I said, wait, who's the artist? And he said, Michael Jackson. And I'm like, okay, great. I was 21 at the time.
Was Michael one of those artists that you had grown up trying to do his routines?
Michael and I share the same birthday. I was so in love with Michael Jackson when I was younger. I had posters on my...
Can you imagine being able to say you have Michael Jackson on your resume?
Wall that felt like Michael Jackson wallpaper. I was really, really a super fan. Yeah.
So when you got the call and accepted, what are the first steps then? How do you go about creating the choreography?
Well, when I got the call, I was super excited, but also really understanding like the turning point that this would be in my life, because I was still kind of doing hair during the day, which allowed me to really just go. I had gone on dance for like Big Daddy Kane on tour, but this was like really serious for me. And also I had never worked with so many dancers, and so for me this was it was amazing. And with all choreography, for me, it starts with the music. And so once I got the music and understanding the concept of the Egyptian video, then, that's when you start to study and kind of create the moves.
So do you listen to sections on repeat? Do you write out steps? What do you do?
No, I just listen to it. Just listen to it and go. A lot of times I don't even pre-plan. I like to just do it in the room with the bodies. It's really just the music moves you in a certain way. Yeah.
So a lot of Michael Jackson's video, Remember the Time, was a short film. It was a little over 9 minutes. Was there a script that you followed and kind of figured out the sequences you'd do?
It's so funny. I was cleaning out my garage recently and found the storyboards for Remember the Time. And I was like, what? I don't even remember this that John had done, So normally you don't have a video that has storyboards in that way. And then a lot of times for me, I, listen to the concept of what they want, but then also I have a creative idea for what I see the moves to be, what I see in entrance and exit formations. And I kind of just go with that, in the room. There's certain times where you have the ability to plan in advance, like when you're doing a movie. Sometimes in theater, you get to plan in advance a little bit more. But for music videos, we're pretty on a time crunch. And, but it's also just the way I like to create. I don't like to be too prepared. I like to go in the room and let what magic happens when you're in the room as you're listening, as you're flowing. I like to let that process play out.
So did you have a creative meeting with John and with Michael?
Oh, yeah. I had a creative meeting with John. I didn't meet Michael until we were in the studio working. It was really nice because Michael put a lot of trust in John of who he was bringing to the table. And it was, he was he's so used to working with Vince Patterson and Michael Peters and people that I respected and loved their choreography so much. So to come in and do a video like this, I knew was big for me, but also big for hip hop because Michael was very curious about this new style of dance that was bubbling in the clubs and starting to show up in places.
Yeah, this is the king of pop doing a new style of dance for him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's exciting.
How much time did you have to choreograph and then teach the routine and then shoot it?
I think maybe we had a week of auditions and rehearsals, and then we started shooting. I think we shot for 3 days of the choreography, somewhere in there.
What's your process for auditioning dancers like?
Well, it's very refined now. Back then there were just hundreds of dancers that showed up for that, and I felt very overwhelmed. But now it's a really great process that the agencies have where they send me a link and I'm able to click onto the link and click on to dancers that I want to see, so that I'm not doing open castings, which I do sometimes, but it's very specific what our needs are for a certain job. So I like to stay within what exactly we're looking for. And when I say that, I don't want 5'2" dancers showing up for something that I know I'm only going to hire 5'8" dancers. So it's very important to me that I don't waste other people's time and that I don't, that I'm calling in what I know I'm going to hire. And so within that process, we teach a small combination, and then I split people up in groups, and then I break it up. And then sometimes like I said, the magic in the room, there may be someone who stands out in the most amazing way that I want to pair them with other people that I see that I really like, or someone that I wouldn't have expected to be that fabulous. I then bring them back and pair them with somebody. So then I'll make groups and kind of figure it out from there.
Do you generally know all of the choreography when you do auditions? Or you're still figuring it out yourself?
No, we go in and we figure out a 4/8 count. Yeah.
Talk a little bit about choreographing for camera. Like, did you know for Remember the Time what was going to be a wide shot going in, what was going to be close up?
No, not really. But when as we're shooting all that stuff, like you're told, you know, we're gonna go wide, we're gonna go tight, like, and then you look at the playback and you adjust it to, like, you know, if they're tighter and you're not seeing the hands or not seeing certain things, you adjust it to go, you know, maybe the hands were here when they ended, but instead you make them here, you know, when they end. So there's things that you do to adjust for camera.
Because I'm thinking of that sequence when the music first kicks in and Michael goes up the stairs towards Iman. He has really precise finger movements, really precise head movements. Is that all coming from you, that movement?
Some of that stuff is Michael. That's just kind of how he naturally moves. That was him.
And then there's another sequence where he's surrounded by the women in veils dancing around him.
Yes.
And then there's sort of the big sequence that I think most people remember with that large group of dancers.
Yeah, that's all me.
So that final one was all you?
And the veils.
And the veils. So tell us a little bit about those two sequences. I think the final one is the most iconic one that people think of.
Yeah. I mean, we wanted to kind of show the Egyptian hieroglyphics and the vibe of what you would see, you know, in Egypt during that time. So we kind of mixed that in with a little bit of popping and locking and hip hop. So it just kind of came out like that.
And tell us about actually teaching Michael the choreography. Was there a specific way he liked to learn choreography?
He doesn't like to count. He'd rather you mimic the beat instead of counting. So it's a very more organic way, and you hear the song, so it's more like you know, instead of 1 and 2 and 3, you know, instead of counting, which is lovely. And he loves the music to be really loud, so he brings in extra speakers, and because he wants to feel it in his chest when he dances. So yeah.
People have sometimes talked about him as a natural dancer. Do you believe in kind of the term natural dancer?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. There's certain people that have natural rhythm, that have the way in which they hit a move is harder than other people, and the way they understand the vocabulary of dance is, yeah, there's definitely people like that. Beyonce is one of those as well.
And how did things like his costume and the set design impact your work?
Costumes are really important to choreography and making the choreography better, you know? So we always want to try and make sure that the costume designer and I are aligned, so that they're not covering up too much or giving us something that doesn't feel like it goes with the choreography. In that video, it was perfect. Like, everyone was working together. And we really, you really felt the magic in the room. You really felt like you were making history. It was a great song. It was a great set, you know, great dance. And the director he had a home run with that one. Yeah.
And how was working with John as a director?
I love working with John. I mean, meeting him when I was 18 and in the clubs, and someone so young and talented, and just really had a vision for cinema, you know, a vision and a love for it. He just talked about movies and had so many references in his head, was so passionate about it. So,
what was your favorite John Singleton movie in the comments?
it was a really, really great friendship.
There were a lot of big names featured in that video as well.
Yeah.
Iman, Eddie Murphy, Magic Johnson.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't dance, but did you have input on how they moved?
No, that was all them.
Because I'm wondering where the line is between a director directing and like a choreographer having input on movement.
Oh, a choreographer has input on movement all the time. 100%. For that one particularly, that was them. But yeah, all the time.
And then did you appear in the video as well?
I'm dancing with Michael.
Was that set from the beginning, or did that kind of come out as you guys were working?
No, as we were looking for, as we were kind of putting it all together of how many girls, how many guys, Michael, it was very natural to go, I want to dance. Yeah. At the time, too, I was young and I still had my dancing shoes on.
Having grown up watching him, what was the moment actually like where you are dancing with him in his video?
So surreal. It was really surreal, but because he's such a perfectionist, we're both Virgos, you know, it's like, it was, for me, it set the tone for the rest of my career to be, you know, just all of my Virgo way just came into place. And it's really great when you are Virgo and have work to do. You know how to let go.
Let me know if you are Virgo as well.
Of any of that anxiety that may come or super fandom that existed. And you just do your job and you do it to the best of your ability.
How did choreographing that video impact your career moving forward?
That video just put me really on the map. It put my name in so many people's mouths because it was just like, who is this girl and who did this video? I did it along with also another choreographer, Stretch, out of New York, who's amazing. But it really set the tone for me. And but it was also really interesting because I had to go back to still working with and dancing with the hip hop artists that I work with, the you know, Heavy D's and Mary J. Blige's and Bobby Brown's and stuff like that. I had to go back to working in that world. So it's interesting, you know, you work with the top of the game and then still you go back to where my roots were and work with my artists and hip hop and keep building from there, you know, so.
Well, let's talk about some of those videos as well. Actually, you mentioned Mary J. Blige. You started working with her and you were 23 years old, I think
yeah, somewhere around there.
Talk about meeting with her and working with her.
Yeah, Mary was great. I mean, she was the queen of hip hop soul. You know, at the time we were all just young and her sound was so unique and different. We all loved it. And to be able to have such a long-standing relationship with someone like Mary, I staged her Oscar performance the last time she did the Oscars and the Super Bowl, and so it's great when you get to work with people who, you know, are your peers, but you're also able to help them shine in their career. And that's really one of the things that I love to do most in what I do is just, I love watching other people shine and being part of the team that helps do that.
Can you imagine being able to work with Mary J. Blige?
When you meet an artist for the first time, what do you do to kind of see what their skill level is, what their comfort level is with dance?
I just have them perform their song, just raw. I want to see what they naturally do. Because a lot of times what I do is just pull out what they naturally have in their repertoire already. I want them to feel to the world natural and not choreographed. So it's like, how do I I go off that first. That becomes my base of what they do naturally. And then I go, okay, try this. And I push them a little further, you know.
Do you ever get pushback from the artist on that?
I do.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I'm like, oh, they're not ready for me. I really like working with artists who want to grow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so let's talk about some more videos. You choreographed I'm Every Woman for Whitney Houston.
Yeah, that was a choreographer, Sean. What is his name?
Cheeseman?
Sean Cheeseman was hired onto that. But we were dancing for Bobby at the time, and they were dating, and she was pregnant, and we had gone to the wedding, and had gone through all the whole Bobby and Whitney world. And so they scooped us from tour, and so that was all of our tour rehearsal choreography that we had done for that. And so yeah, it was a great experience because, you know, Whitney she was like family because she was always around whenever we would be in rehearsals with Bobby and stuff. So it was really great.
And you imagine being able to say you worked with Whitney Houston.
Yeah, it was fun.
There's a group of young girls dancing in the video as well. Talk a little bit about working with children.
Yeah, I love working with kids. These particular girls had formed a group, and Whitney saw them and at one point was coming on to help manage them and things and wanted them dancing in it. And so it was a lot of fun. They were so special and so talented. Yeah.
There's a lot of cameos in that video too. TLC is in it. Whitney's mom is in it.
Shaka Khan. Yeah, it was great. And such a wonderful director, Randy St. Nicholas. I love working with her. And, you know, at the time, one of the few female directors I got to work with. She's so talented and it's just so lovely to work with on a creative level. She just gets it. Yeah.
And then just a note about Bobby Brown. He's someone who danced a lot in his videos and performances.
Yeah.
Talk a little about working with him.
Yeah, another person that I really liked growing up. I mean, he was so raw with his talent, you know, and his songs were so great. Saw him as well. He would come to the clubs, saw him, and he eventually heard about us dancing when he was looking for dancers. They'd come up with, you know, there's this girls, Fatima and Tish, dancing in the clubs. And so met with him, and then we eventually went on the road with him. And it was great. It was great. We were young. It's funny because there's a move in Remember the Time that I learned from a club in Atlanta. And the reason why I was in Atlanta is because I was dancing for Bobby Brown. And so, like I said, that's how moves got shared back then. It's like you go to the clubs, you learn their latest dances in Atlanta, and then you put them in a music video, and then the world would do them. Unlike TikTok and YouTube now.
Yeah, how do you think that's changed now with those dance tutorials?
I love it. I think it's so amazing that you can find dance at your fingertips all day. I think it's incredible.
When Bobby would tour, would the choreography that he would do on stage for a song be the same as what was in the music video?
Sometimes, yeah. Sometimes we'd have to change it or enhance it for the stage. But a lot of times we use the same choreography, yeah.
So let's talk about Baby, which you choreographed for Brandy in 1994.
Baby was a video I did for Brandy that, you know, I met Lionel, and Hype used to work in the art department for Lionel. And so that's how I met Hype. And once Hype started directing his own music videos, he'd call me in to do stuff, and this is one of them. We did Baby together, and I just loved Brandy. We got along immediately. Like her energy, her voice was so amazing, just such a vibrant teenager she was. And we had just a great time working together.
Did Hype and Lionel each have kind of their own style for how they like to work?
Oh, for sure.
How would you describe their styles?
Lionel was like the grandfather of directing. You know, he was directing before anybody, any one of us. Like, he really ushered us into and helped hip hop in a way that, you know, we didn't know we needed. You know, he really put a visual to the music, and which elevated the music so much. And then Hype came in, and Hype had his mind was just so creative, and he pushed the boundaries of what can be done. You know, he worked with different lenses, and he worked with different color palettes, and he really pushed the music and the visual and the culture to a whole nother plateau with the way in which he visualized a song. So it was really fun working with Hype.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He had the video for Baby, partially it's like in Times Square.
Mm-hmm.
There's a studio sequence.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's often a few different sequences of dance in different locations.
Yeah, he really kind of mastered that. He just pushed the envelope. Like, the fact that we built a stage in the middle of Times Square like that with all these people around and all the lights and all of that, he just, you know, when you would see it written back in the day, you'd just be like, what? And then we'd actually physically be doing it. And we're like, what? They gave us the money to do this? You know, we'd often like laugh at the fact that we were able to do what we were able to do back then, but it was such a different time. It was great.
Was the timeline you were working on for most of these videos similar to Remember the Time, of like a week to do?
No, you didn't get that much time. No, you would get maybe 3 days of rehearsal.
Wow.
Yeah.
So let's move on to Been There, Done That with Dr. Dre, which has a tango-inspired sequence. Talk about developing that.
Well, when Dre did the beat, you know, it felt like tango, and he called me up, you know, I want to do something that's really different. I want to mix, you know, what if we can do like a hip hop tango? And I'm like, what? Let's.
No, you can admit that this woman has a beautiful resume.
Let's try it. Like, when he asked me about that, I was just so like ready to figure it out. And so I went and took classes, and kind of that video was really like, I hadn't done a lot of partner dance in my career as well. And so that was really a stepping out and trying new styles of dance with my style of dance. And I loved it. It worked. And I researched flamenco for Are You That Somebody with Aaliyah. So
you're definitely going to get to that. Sticking with this video for a second, there's a whole ballroom full of dancers. How do you go about figuring out how many dancers you want in a scene?
I mean, sometimes the director and the location scout, depends if they already have the location that they want, then they'll figure out how many can fit in that space. It really depends on the set and what you're doing, what you're dealing with. Sometimes, you know, we shoot over, sometimes we shoot under. But if we shoot under, we just add more dancers. Like, there's ways around like figuring it out.
Tell us about California Love with Tupac.
California Love, that was fun. That didn't require a lot of dance for me, but Hype and I would just work together, period. He put me in the video to be kind of one of Dre's people, Dre's girls. It was to be out in the desert like that with this Mad Max vibe and the costuming and then the whole, Hype was quite cinematic as well in his music videos. He wanted it to feel like movies. And so to be a part of it was really cool. Again, it was just, the timing of that record, the production, Dre's beat was so fly, It's like all those things come together to create something really, really magical.
Absolutely. Were you in Hypnotize as well for Notorious B.I.G.?
I wasn't in it. I just choreographed it. Yeah.
Let's talk about Put Your Hands Where My Eyes Could See, Busta Rhymes. Talk about the inspiration for that.
Well, it was funny because I was in rehearsal with Aaliyah in LA, and Hype comes over and he plays me the record, and he's like, "You gotta do this." And I'm like, "I gotta do it, Hype. This is so good. When is it?" And I'm like, "Oh, I'm not available. I'm in rehearsal." But for somehow and way, Hype is very convincing. And so I talked to Aaliyah's parents and asked could we move rehearsals to New York. And luckily she had some things to do in New York, and it all kind of worked out. And so I moved it all to New York so that I could be there and do Put Your Hands Where My Eyes Can See. And, Busta came into the rehearsal space, and it was his first time ever doing choreography. So he was a bit nervous and a bit like, what is Hype talking me into this time? But as soon as he got up and realized that he actually had muscle memory and he can retain the steps and he could do this, he was took off his, I think probably pager at the time, and phone and stuff, and threw it across the room and was like, "I'm Michael Jackson in here." And we just had so much fun. He was so excited to be moving and dancing. And we just established such a bond from that rehearsal that I am one of the few people that can talk him into doing performances to this day and really convince him that he is still that incredible kid that walked into the room and, wowed us all.
How do you think you were able to develop that connection with him?
He just had a lot of trust in me. When people walk in with that fear of dance, because a lot of people haven't done it yet, and they walk in like, what is this? What am I getting myself into? And the way that I teach it allows for people to be very comfortable in it. I know I can feel in the room when someone's uncomfortable, and I know how to do the things to make them feel comfortable. So with that, we just built the trust. And when the final product comes out and it's so amazing and they look at themselves and go, wow, I actually pulled that off, then there's a lot of trust then built there. And so. Mm-hmm.
So let's talk about Aaliyah. How did you first meet and start working with her?
They called me about Aaliyah. She was doing a music video, 1 in a Million with Paul Hunter. And I went to have a meeting with her, and she had some dancers that were already kind of with her. And so I said, well, let's get up and dance a little bit. And as I was dancing with them, the guys were like, but she was really in a pocket that I hadn't seen before. So I asked them to sit down and just me and her danced. And it was the first time for me, it felt like synchronized swimming. Like she was just on point, and the way we moved was so alike that I was like, wow, this is really great. And so from there, she had 100% total trust in me. And we just did a lot of great work together.
So let's talk about some of that great work. Yeah. Are You That Somebody? You mentioned there's the flamenco.
Yeah, it's funny. Are You That Somebody too Hype was supposed to originally direct that. And something came up and he wasn't able to, and all we had was the dance. So when we brought in our new director, he looked at the dance and was like, I think I just need to build some really beautiful environments for this dance to live in. And that's kind of how that video came about. But it was definitely listening to the beat of the song that made me think of flamenco dance. And it's Timberland's beats, you know, it's with every new hip hop producer, whether it be Pharrell or Timberland or whomever, like their sound makes you elevate your way of dance. And so with this one, I was really, really excited to explore that and had a really good time. I went to private lessons and group lessons and danced at an Argentinian association party. Just kind of dive into the culture and then blend it with mine.
It is a very dance heavy video for sure. Most are not.
No, and that we were so lucky that it worked out that way. But yeah, it's just all about the dance.
And you said she trusted you and you saw skill level and a passion in her.
Yeah.
Is that, because oftentimes you don't see artists actually dancing. Sometimes it's dancers dancing behind them. Every now and then the artist will do a few moves with them.
Yeah.
Aaliyah danced full sequences in a lot of her videos.
Yeah, she was an amazing dancer and just amazing performer, amazing voice as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Try Again.
Yes. First you don't succeed. Again, we were just on a roll. By this time, I had choreographed shows for her and I was just, we were just inseparable. And so Try Again was another just great one that she really enjoyed dance, but also we liked to, we put a little martial arts kind of vibe into that one with the Jet Li and the movie. But it was really just, she was the one person in the room that I can create with, you know, a lot of times because we move so much alike. We were able to really like play, and she was one of the people that I quite often would push as well to explore outside her.
Do you think Aaliyah could have been where Beyonce is now?
What's normal for her?
There's sequences where Jet Li has her kind of running up a wall, and then she dances with a cane with some of the male dancers at the end. Talk a little bit about involving props.
I love props. Yeah, it gives just another way to just play in the room, you know? We did canes and we did t-shirts and we did, you know, we do all kinds of stuff. I'm a prop heavy choreographer. It gives you a lot to, I don't know, explore with. It's like, it just takes things to another level. So I like props.
And she was open to whatever you would give her?
Yeah, she was always open.
And then let's talk about Rock the Boat, which shot on location.
Yeah, we shot that on a boat in Bahamas. And we had a great time. It was a great day. It was, you know, hype. Was like, what do you think about two girls dancing instead of like couples with guys and guys? Why don't we do girls? And I was like, oh, that's interesting. Let's play with that. And so it was really fun to be able to explore that and not have anyone, especially in that day and time, not have anyone question it and feel like make it a thing. It was just done so tastefully and elegant that it was great. I remember like I had just gotten back from like being in Africa with Will Smith. And so I had all these wonderful like African hip moves and stuff, so which made it really cool.
Was that the green screen sequence you were talking about there with the girls paired up?
Throughout the whole video, yeah, especially on the boat, there's stuff every now and then, yeah.
Was there any choreography that needed to be changed that like worked in the studio but not on the open waters on a boat?
There's always adjustments that we make in the moment. I can't remember if we like if there was like a big chunk or something that had to be changed. I don't think so. But there's always, when you're in the moment, you have to be able to be light on your feet to be able to make adjustments quickly. That always naturally happens.
And then tragically, Rock the Boat wound up being Aaliyah's final video.
Yeah.
What do you think her legacy is?
I mean, she's just such an angel. I love hearing her music to this day. It just really, the pureness of her music and sound and who she was, I think still lives in a lot of people's heart, and still, it still affects a lot of artists. She still inspires, I should say, a lot of artists. You know, Drake said why he was singing is because he would listen to Aaliyah songs and sing along with them, you know, so.
Part of the great thing about video is that they last. We still have all these videos that we can watch.
Yeah, it's wonderful.
Fatima Robinson interview, part 1 of 3. Let's be honest, this woman's resume is astronomical. Let me know in the comments, out of all of the influential people that's in this interview, of part 1's interview, which one will be the top? Which one will be the one that you would love to work with? Let's have a conversation.